They were like, can we go to it? And so we made the investment. We bought them a plane ticket, sent them out to LA, and they went to this one-day conference. And I said to them, you can go under one condition. You have to go there and you have to write a report. And that report has 3 questions. The first question is you have to answer, what was your biggest takeaway? The second question is, how can you apply that takeaway to the business? And the third question is, if applied to the business, what is the business impact? They said, okay, I'll do it. They went out, they came back on fucking fire. And I had my customer service guys going, if we do this, it's going to create more profit. If we do this, it's going to save customers. If we do this, it's going to reduce costs. They were thinking like owners because I made an investment into them as if they were an owner. And so if you can put your employees first, you will fucking win. It's powerful. And ultimately, what I've learned firsthand as the business has grown. When I started business, I did it for one reason. I wanted to make money. And I wanted to make money because I wanted freedom. That was it. I didn't give a shit about anything else. And then what you realize over time is the selfish pursuit must become selfless if it's going to grow beyond you. And if you want to build a business that has the capacity to grow beyond you and have other people's dreams and goals fit within it, you need to make the investment into them and you need to find out what they want and how you can support them. If you can do that, you can build a real big business. But more importantly than that, you can build a real great team of people that really enjoy what they do. And you can be one of those rare individuals that has an organization of people that actually love and enjoy what they do. It's very rare in the world today. And I think as founders, God, it's our moral obligation to provide an environment to our people that makes them feel supported, nurtured, and cared for. I think that's maybe the most noble thing we can do as entrepreneurs, is create environments that other people like to be in, because there's so much fucking bullshit in the world, especially in the corporate America environment. So be the type of person who puts their employees first and watch what happens.
I won't waste another minute, no, I won't. I'm a man on a mission. I'm a man on a mission. I don't need no permission. I'm a man on a mission.
Welcome to Entitled to Nothing, where we believe our life is our fault. My name is Mink, and today I'm going to share with you guys 10 lessons I've learned from $50 million in e-commerce sales. Over my 15-year career in the digital marketing and e-commerce space, the businesses and the marketing campaigns that I've ran have generated over 50 million in sales for my companies. And what I want to do is share with you the top 10 lessons I've learned through this process. But before we dive in, I want to give you guys the truth about entrepreneurship, because entrepreneurship is really, really hard. And if you're a business owner, you know what I'm talking about. But the studies out there show that in the first year, 20% of all businesses are going to go out of business. In the first 10 years, 40% of all businesses are going to go out of business. And in the first 20 years of business, over 80% of businesses go out of business. And what's crazy is, you hear these giant numbers, the $100 million this, the $1 billion that, right? We're sold this idea of really fast results and big numbers and scale. But the data tells a different story. You see, only 1 in 25 businesses in the United States earns over $1 million a year in sales. Only 1 in 25. Now there's about 30 million businesses out there, so you guys can do the math. And if you take another step, only 1 business in every 250 make over $10 million a year in sales. And so those numbers are very sobering, because we hear this idea again of millions and billions and $100 million this and $200 million exit. And there's all of this debate and discord online about growing fast and making all this money. And it's possible, but also it's not as easy as most people would lead you to believe. And I think the truth of life is more important than the way that we wish it was. And entrepreneurship is really, really hard. But if you commit to it and you focus on playing the long game and not getting rich quick, but getting rich forever, right, over time, then you have an opportunity to win the game. And so what I want to do today is I want to share with you guys the 10 lessons I've learned from being part of that 1 in 250, that 0.004%. All right, lesson number 1 is you have to be willing to do the unscalable things. Again, in the world we live in, everybody wants the optimization, the AI trick. They want to find something that's automated and scalable. And I like to zig when everybody is zagging. I like to try to go against the trend at times. There's a time to go with it, but there's also a time to go in the opposite direction. And I think this is one of those. And when we started Live Bearded, the first 2 years, we went live every single day. We had a private Facebook group. We were engaging in that community every day where we were getting to know customers. We were building real relationships. We were finding ways to add value to our customers. We were getting feedback on our product. And ultimately, I can tell you that Live Bearded has become an 8-figure business today and done all of that revenue because in the beginning, we really focused on doing the unscalable thing. And we've worked on finding ways to do that at every threshold in the business, whether that's calling customers and saying thank you. One of the things I love to do as the CEO is I love to look at a list of some of our top customers and call them periodically and just say thank you. And then say, what feedback would you have for me? How can I improve? This is something that I learned from Richard Branson. I heard a story about how he used to call randomly first-class customers from Virgin Atlantic and just call them randomly and be like, hey, this is Richard from Virgin. I wanted to see how your flight was. And I heard a really funny story about an entrepreneur who didn't believe it was him. He thought he was getting pranked. And so he hung up on him and then he called back and he's like, dude, it's really me. Moral of the story here is, if as a business owner, you're always trying to find the scalable thing, you're going to miss out on the thing that's going to differentiate you from everyone else. Yes, we should be using technology. Yes, we should be doing all of the latest the latest things that people are doing, whether it's with email or SMS or video or AI. We definitely want to leverage technology, 100%. But I would challenge you to look at all of the ways that you can do the unscalable as well. Whether it's truly engaging in comments, whether it's having your customer service team call people, whether it's you as the founder calling people. We sometimes do handwritten notes and postcards. We're always looking for an opportunity to create an experience for someone. And usually an experience is not scalable. It's done in a one-to-one or one-to-many basis. So the first lesson, the biggest way that you can differentiate yourself in a sea of competition is doing the unscalable thing. Number 2 is brand matters more than revenue. Warren Buffett said that it takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. One of the things I've learned firsthand is the brand that you have is nothing more than your reputation in the marketplace, right? Your brand is the digitization of your reputation. And so if you think about it like that, you probably would want to take a different approach to the things that you say, the things that you do, and ultimately how you treat your customers. And I think if we put our consumer hat on for a minute, we've all bought something from a company that treated us like shit, didn't give us a great experience, held us hostage to a refund policy or to a loophole or some random bullshit. And there's nothing I hate more as an entrepreneur who ruthlessly prioritizes customer service and customer satisfaction above most things in the business. There's few things that piss me off more than dealing with a business that treats me like shit as a paying customer. And so I think we need to change our brain from reputation or from revenue is more important than reputation to reputation will always be greater than revenue. And if you can think that way, this is a long-term approach, right? I think the way that you win the game of business is to play the long game. Simon Sinek said, business is an infinite game, and the goal of the game is to continue to play. And so if you genuinely want to create success in business, if you want to create the financial security, the wealth, and the business of your dreams, you need to play the long game. You need to play the infinite game. And the only way you're going to be around for the long term is if you really focus on building a reputation that is built to last and not here today to generate as much revenue as possible. We need both. We need reputation and revenue. But I think in the hierarchy of importance, reputation comes first. And in that model, reputation creates way more revenue for a much longer period of time. So focus on the reputation, especially in the beginning. I know we got to eat, right? I didn't take $1 out of Live Bearded for 2.5 years. I lived off of credit cards and I went into 6 figures in debt building this business because every dollar that came in, we invested back into inventory and back into reputation, and we knew that we were building an asset for the long term. Now, I'm not telling you that's what you have to do, but I am telling you, if you want a real business that's going to last, reputation and brand must come first. All right, lesson number 3 is employees come first, customers come second. There's this idea in the marketplace that the customer is always right. I don't know if that's exactly true, but what I do know is as founders, as executives, we have to put our employees first. There's this saying that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I like to think of that slightly different in business, and your employees don't really care about your business until they know how much you care about their success. And once you show them that you care about their success, then they start to care about your success. And it becomes our success. And that's where it gets really powerful. And so I think creating a culture of employees first and really finding ways to understand what your I keep saying customers, but it's employees. This is like we all fall into this trap, right? I'm sitting here telling you that it's employees, but we're so conditioned to think about the customer first. And even I catch myself at times. So I'm sure we all do to some degree. But if you can truly put the employee first, and that means really investing into their growth, understanding what their goals and dreams are, understanding why they want to be a part of your organization, understanding what positions they would like to grow into, making investments into them. I just had the opportunity, my customer service team came to me and they said, there's this event. It's a one-day customer relationship, customer satisfaction event put on by a company that does customer service management. And they were like, can we go to it? And so we made the investment. We bought them a plane ticket, sent them out to LA, and they went to this one-day conference. And I said to them, you can go under one condition. You have to go there and you have to write a report. And that report has 3 questions. The first question is you have to answer, what was your biggest takeaway? The second question is, how can you apply that takeaway to the business? And the third question is, if applied to the business, what is the business impact? They said, okay, I'll do it. They went out, they came back on fucking fire. And I had my customer service guys going, if we do this, it's going to create more profit. If we do this, it's going to save customers. If we do this, it's going to reduce costs. They were thinking like owners because I made an investment into them as if they were an owner. And so if you can put your employees first, you will fucking win. It's powerful. And ultimately, what I've learned firsthand is the business has grown. When I started business, I did it for one reason. I wanted to make money. And I wanted to make money because I wanted freedom. That was it. I didn't give a shit about anything else. And then what you realize over time is the the selfish pursuit must become selfless if it's going to grow beyond you. And if you want to build a business that has the capacity to grow beyond you and have other people's dreams and goals fit within it, you need to make the investment into them, and you need to find out what they want and how you can support them. If you can do that, you can build a real big business. But more importantly than that, you can build a real great team of people that really enjoy what they do. And you can be one of those rare individuals that has an organization of people that actually love and enjoy what they do. It's very rare in the world today. And I think as founders, God, it's our moral obligation to provide an environment to our people that makes them feel supported, nurtured, and cared for. I think that's maybe the most noble thing we can do as entrepreneurs, is create environments that other people like to be in, because there's so much fucking bullshit in the world, especially in the corporate America environment. So be the type of person who puts their employees first and watch what happens. All right, number 4, we're gonna get tactical, because as a entrepreneur, you have to always be optimizing. You gotta optimize, always optimize. And what that means is every part of the business, right? In your marketing, you have to optimize ads and creative, sales funnels and conversion rates. In your customer service, you've got to optimize for touch points and friction points and reducing and solving problems for customers. In your OpEx, you have to optimize to create more profit. You know, one of the biggest lessons we learned, and it's super fucking simple now, right? But when I got started, I had no idea. It's like, for every dollar in sales we make, you know, you might keep 20 cents if you're doing really well. For every dollar in expenses you cut, you keep $1, right? So like optimizing your operational expenses is an incredible way to make your business more profitable, right? Optimizing manufacturing costs, renegotiating manufacturing contracts. Every year, you should go out and source a couple of different quotes and compete those guys against each other to try to create the best overall operational efficiency possible. I started out as a marketing guy. I've become more of I haven't really become too much of an ops guy because I got a great partner who's more the operations guy, but we strategize a little bit on that, and I help make very few decisions in the operations world. But as it comes to operating the company, you've got to always optimize and look for those efficiencies and the ways that you can improve. Through optimization, you can maximize the potential of your company and the enterprise value of it. All right, number 5 is retention is king. You know, so often in the marketing world, we focus on customer acquisition, driving awareness, building visibility, getting as much traffic as possible, and that's all super critical. But I literally just read a report yesterday that said customer acquisition is 5 to 7 times more expensive than customer retention. And one of the things I believe is if you can create a culture of, so going back to putting your employees first, one of the amazing things that happens is when you really love on your employees and you put them first, that energy transfers to your customers. And they really love on your customers and do everything they can to serve them. And then that is gonna help with retention, because retention is king. At the end of the day, it is what makes or breaks a business. If you have a super high churn rate and you've got to constantly be dumping in new leads, new sales, new people, and there's a giant fucking hole in your boat, then you're always going to be treading water. But if you can put a disproportionate amount of energy on retention for a period of time and really figure out how to architect a customer journey that's going to keep people around and make them feel nurtured, supported, and part of something, then you can build a really incredible and successful business. And if your goal is to exit one day, if you want to be one of those success stories that starts a business and has the ability to sell it for 7, 8, or 9 figures, the biggest multiple value you're going to get is on the retention revenue that your company has. And I'm really proud to say that our business, Live Bearded, we have anywhere from 45 to 55% of our customers come back and repeat. simply because of the energy and the effort that we put on that. And it fluctuates because of the different sales campaigns and promotions that we're doing. But retention is king. You got to focus on it. You got to emphasize it. You got to prioritize it. And if you can really maximize your brand's potential for retention, you can maximize your brand's potential for profit. All right, number 6 is culture is queen, right? If retention is king, culture is definitely queen, because those two work hand in hand. You can't really have one without the other. And I can summarize it very beautifully from Maya Angelou. She said, "People will not remember what you say or do, but they'll never forget how you make them feel." If you can create experiences for people, if you can make them feel a part of something, if you can connect with them, if you can tell the world who you are and not be afraid of pissing some people off, then you have the capacity to build a tribe. We live in a world where people vote with their dollars now more than ever. And customers want to know the values of brands. And so, yeah, we live in this crazy divisive climate, but at the end of the day, the number one marketing principle we should all remember is this: if you're for everybody, you're for nobody. Okay? People want to know who you are. They want to know what you believe. And if you have the courage to tell them and to build a culture around who you are, then you will build a tribe. And that tribe will love you and support you if they feel loved by you and supported by you. And so at Live Bearded, right? I started Live Bearded with one of my best friends. We sat down and we said, what do we want to build this company on? We're like, well, we've been friends for 10 years. Let's build this company on the idea of friendship and brotherhood. As cliche and novel as that idea is, we are like, that's what we want our culture to be. Okay, well, how do we do that? We have the most lenient policies possible. We put our customer first in the exchange, in the transaction, as much as possible. We put our employees first in the exchange of the business so that they feel like they're a part of something, right? We are a masculine, made in America driven brand. We serve blue collar, white collar, no collar. If you've got a fucking beard, we are your guys. We're here to champion what it means to be a man, to live by the values of masculinity and manhood. And we plant our flag in the ground and say, this is who we are. And we don't give a fuck what anybody says about it. And that belief in who we are and that clarity in our culture and what we want to represent has allowed us to have the success that we have had. And in the beginning, I'll be honest with you guys, I was a little nervous about like pushing that button too hard. I didn't want to piss anybody off. I didn't want to alienate anybody. But one of the best examples of this, honestly, is Black Rifle Coffee. Those guys, I remember one ad. They're such a beautiful example. You should go watch them from purely a culture standpoint. I remember one ad, they were like, you know what? Some people say we cuss too much. We say, fuck you. And it was just like such an example of if you're for everybody, you're for nobody. But if you have the courage to be who you are, you'll build a tribe of people that's incredibly loyal. And that's why Black Rifle Coffee is a publicly traded company worth hundreds of millions, if not billions at this point. Right? They knew who they were. There's tons of fucking coffee companies in the world, right? But there was no one that was a coffee company that had that culture. And that's why they were successful. All right, number 7 is really an extension of culture. What I believe is serving is more important and greater than selling. You see, if your customers know that you have their best interest in mind and you're not just trying to sell them all day, every day, they're going to want to support you. So if you really want to build an incredible culture, if you got to focus more on serving your community and figuring out what their true problems and challenges are, what are their fears and doubts, what do they worry about, right? Steve Jobs said it's your job to get as close to your customer as humanly possible so that you know what they need before they know they need it. And the only way to do that is to take a serving mentality over selling and really focus on understanding who your customer is and asking yourself, how can I serve this individual, this person better than anybody else? And if you can do that, you don't even have to sell. They'll want to support you because you're serving them. Number 8, who, not how. This is a lesson I had to learn the hard way, but ultimately it can be summarized like this. You never have a how problem in business. It's always a who problem. You see, every business problem or challenge that either of us could have, someone else has already solved it. So you don't have to know how to solve the problem. You need to go find who knows how to solve it. And in life, I think one of the first principles of life is, again, you don't get what you want, you get who you are, right? As an owner, as a founder, you are going to create a business that is based on your skill set and your capacity. And if you want to build a bigger business, you've got to become a greater entrepreneur, a greater businessman. So it's who, not how. Who do you need to be personally, or who do you need to hire to solve the current problem and constraint that you have in the business? And by doing that, you can help take the business to the next level. And at every new level in the business, you're going to have new problems, new challenges, new things to solve. And you're going to need to either A, become a better version of yourself at that next level, or you need to go find someone that's already solved that problem. But it was a huge weight off my shoulder when I realized, damn, I don't need to know how to solve all these problems. I just need to know how to find someone that can solve this problem. And if you can find someone that can solve the problem, guess what? You don't have the problem anymore. You might have the problem of paying that person to solve that problem. Okay, so that we can debate. But ultimately, the right person can solve any problem in the business that you have. Number 9, you, the founder, are always the issue. Okay, so I learned this lesson from Tony Robbins, and he said the success of any business is in direct proportion to the psychology of the business owner, meaning your business cannot grow beyond your capacity to lead it if you are leading the company. And this is why you see examples of the classic example of Steve Jobs, right? He got kicked out of his CEO position by the board because they said, we don't think that you can help grow this company to the next level. You're not the right leader. And they believed at that point in time that he was the bottleneck that was stopping Apple from reaching its potential. Now, we could debate that. Obviously, we all know the story. He came back. What he did made Apple one of the most valuable companies in the history of the world. But that's a good example to illustrate that we as founders are always the problem. And if we're not getting the results that we want in any area of the business, the problem has to start with us. Meaning, you've got the wrong person in the job, your responsibility to let them go, right? You don't know how to solve this problem, you're responsible to figure it out. At the end of the day, the psychology that you have and what you believe is possible for the business is the truth. And so if the business is going to grow, you as the founder have to take responsibility to grow. And I think we're entitled to nothing and our life is our fault is a first principle of life, but it's always, always present in the business. You're always at fault in the business as the founder. You've always got to take radical responsibility. And if you can do that, then you can actually become the greatest asset the company has. Every founder is equally the greatest asset and the greatest liability. And your job is to try to reduce your liabilities and increase your assets. And if you can do that, business is going to grow. All right, the 10th and final lesson I've learned is you, the founder, get paid to do one thing, and that's solve problems. And this kind of goes back to what I was saying in number 9, but we get paid to solve problems, right? We get paid revenue from our customers when we solve our customers' problems. That revenue comes into the business and gives us opportunities to grow. And there's going to be growth constraints and challenges and issues in the business. And when we solve problems for the business, we're able to turn that revenue into profit and growth. But at the end of the day, every problem, every challenge, every obstacle, every friction point in the business is up to us to lead and manage the team to learn how to solve. But I really believe that the first principle in business is you get paid to solve problems. First, you have to solve the problems for your customers. That's how you generate revenue. And then that revenue gives you problems in the business. And then as an executive, you have to solve the problems in the business. But if you can understand that you are going to get paid in direct proportion to the quality of problems you can solve, then you're going to be able to understand how much money you have the potential to make. And a good example of this is Elon Musk, right? Why did Elon become the richest man in the world? Well, he set out to solve some of the biggest problems in the world, whether it's energy or space or finances, social media issues with censorship now, right? He set out to solve some of the biggest problems that had the biggest impact on the most amount of people. And therefore, by solving those big problems, he has become the wealthiest man in the world on any given day based on how the stocks are trading. But I share all of this with you guys. I share these 10 lessons that I've learned because these are lessons I've learned the hard way in the trenches of 15 years in business and over $50 million in sales. And you know what, guys? I love the game of business. I think business is the game of life. Nothing happens in the modern world until something is sold to someone, by someone, for something, right? Entrepreneurship touches every area of our life. I think it is the greatest game. It's an infinite game. And I think if we can learn from each other, share lessons, ideas, principles, best practices, ultimately that gives us the greatest potential to defeat the odds that I talked about in the beginning with the truth of entrepreneurship. With that said, if you are an entrepreneur, a founder, an executive, or if you're an entrepreneur and someone who is listening to this and you just want to get better, I'm here to help any way I can. Feel free to reach out to me and shoot me a message. I would love to hear your story and learn about your business and potentially help in any way that I can. But with that said, if you got value from this episode, just do me one favor and share it with someone who you think needs to hear it. Until next time, I hope you guys have an incredible day. Talk to you soon.